everyone, and welcome back to the Lead Her podcast. Today we have got the gorgeous Sarah Woulfe with us, who is the owner of the Fem Club, aka the Femtrepreneur Club. Almost got it. But I know a lot of you guys who listen are very driven and very ambitious, and some of you guys are business owners as well, and you can feel very lonely in that kind of process. So I have been dying to get Sarah on the podcast to kind of really open the conversation up a little bit more, because we can spend far too much time in our own head and really face a lot of self-doubt and self-sabotage. So I really wanted to kind of normalize some of these feelings that we have, maybe see if Sarah has some advice and tips to help us overcome some of the self-doubt. And also maybe discover maybe some like awesome qualities that we actually have as female business owners or management if you work in there as well. So Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I absolutely love your page. You're killing it. And I'm so happy you're so happy in Portugal.
Yeah, it's got very hot today though. I feel I kind of planned that we'd maybe like adapt to the temperature, but it's literally like been crap weather to like extremely hot overnight. So if I'm on the video flushed and looking very shiny, that is why.
You look stunning, Leanne. Shut up.
Not to rub it in, that I'm sweating. But yeah, so Sarah, I've gave everybody a little introduction to the Fem Club. But I would love if you could tell us more about what you do and how you kind of
How we started. Yeah. So the Fem Club is the newer addition to my coaching practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you back to, I suppose, the very start, because I feel like this will probably resonate the most with everyone. So I'm a mindset coach. Even the terms mindset coach, life coach, it's all very vague. It's all very sometimes, but really what I do with women is a complete extension of my own life and how I suppose faced my own demons, internal battles, struggles for years. And look, I will say off the bat, thank God I never experienced any major trauma in my life. So the things that I did experience were sort of, I suppose, like a build up of, you could say, normal experiences through, primary school, secondary school. We moved house a couple of times, bullying, rejection, failure, whatever. But I'm a big coach in confidence. And I always say to all my girls, like, your confidence is like a big balloon full of sand that you're dragging around with you. And every so often, as you go through life, that balloon will be chipped at, right? And it'll leave you feeling more deflated. And then all of a sudden, you sort of create this sense of self or this ego that might not necessarily be true. But it's because of all these events and experiences that surround you. I always say they surround you. You never go through anything. They surround you, and all of a sudden you sort of adopt this sense of self. So the real passion in this subject, I suppose, started for me, I'm going to say, when I was in UAE. So I went through, I suppose, primary, secondary school, again, very close to my family, amazing upbringing. I have great friends. Again, this is very much speaking to everyone, but I went through bullying, I suppose, in primary school. I went through bullying in secondary school. And then I just kind of started to, like, my self-confidence got knocked as I went into college. I kind of just had a little bit of a paranoia around myself, a little bit of inferiority, didn't feel good enough, didn't feel like, I fitted in, and I had this kind of a sense of nervousness about myself. And I think that will resonate with some people in different situations, whether it's work, whether it's in social settings. For me, it was just this feeling, for a compound effect of hurt. I was in like an emotionally abusive relationship as well, kind of for a number of years, on and off kind of a thing that really played with my mind. And I don't know about you, but you're probably listening to me, and I'm sure you can check off a few things in your head that happened in your former years that would have amounted to you kind of feeling a little bit insecure at different points. So anyway, my mum at the time was learning how to be a holistic therapist. Sorry, I forgot. The crash point for me was around 2013 in UAE. I went through something really traumatic actually out there. And it was kind of a isolation from the pack kind of a situation. And that's actually where I hit the floor. Like, I mean, hit the floor. I had really dangerous thoughts about myself. And it was from there, I'll never forget going to the doctors when I came home from Dubai that Christmas thinking I was severely depressed. And I remember they handed me this little kind of questionnaire. I was like, what is this? And I remember filling it out. And he was like, no, you're not depressed. And off you go. Right. And I remember at that point, I was like, okay, I've hit rock bottom. Like the only way is up. At the time, my mum was training to be. She'd been in kind of management roles for years, and then she decided to go down the whole. The movie Meet the Fockers. Like
Yeah,
that's my
yeah.
mom. Not the whole sexual side of things, but
Oh,
that real fruity. Like let's just do this and let's try that.
I was going to say, if it was the sexual stuff, I'd be like, get Mama Wolf. Oh, it's not, I know we've got a different surname, but get her on the podcast. She'd be great.
Yeah, let her talk about this. This is the real stuff we need to talk about. But she was training to be a holistic therapist at the time. So she's a reflexologist, she's a reflexology teacher, and she does this wonderful therapy called EFT tapping. If any of the listeners have not heard of it, it's very much like acupuncture using your fingers. So all stress and, those negative emotions of embarrassment, shame, or fear, or feeling crap about yourself, whatever, all of those feelings are actually energy that's locked in your body. And you sort of bottle it up, and that's what creates this kind of nervousness, paranoia, like inferiority. I'm not good enough because you don't have a way to let that stress out. And I literally think it all builds up in the body and it's locked there, right? So that's what creates that kind of tension and this word anxiety that, people label themselves as. By the way, it's not anxiety, it's excitement. So if you're calling yourself anxious, actually, the feeling of anxiety is the same as excitement. Do you know that?
Mm.
It's what you're labeling it as that's causing you the friction in your mind. So I'm fascinated. This is the first thing I say to women on our call in a one-to-one setting. I'm like, you're not actually anxious, you're getting excited, but you're calling it anxiety. So therefore you're separating yourself and your mind from the norm. So it's actually, I was like, next time you feel this is a nice little tip for the listeners. Next time you feel that kind of quote unquote anxiety come up, just ask yourself, why am I getting so excited? It'll break it so quickly. Like it's mad. It's like a really, really good tip. So where was I? Where was I back there? My mind's after drawing a blank. What were
Uh,
we saying there?
you were speaking about your mum.
My mom, yeah. So she was kind of trading in all this. Sorry, this is me now going down various different loopholes, but she was trading to be a holistic therapist. So I remember she just sat down with me and she's like, we're just going to face all your shit. We're just going to talk. Who's like, if we lock the door, she's like, we're going to spend a week at it and we're going to really get to the bottom of these feelings and this kind of the way you're feeling because you can't go on like this. And I was like, I didn't want to go back to UAE, like my life everything just I felt like I was losing it all. So we did days and days of this EFT tapping and I really just faced my past. I really, really faced it. So as you're tapping, you're sort of releasing energy through the body and you're talking about the past and you're thinking about those situations. And, if it's an ex, for example, we keep tapping, keep thinking about him and the things he said and the way he made you feel. And you go back there and you sit there and it's really powerful and you cry your eyes out. Like it's because you're moving energy in the body, you're talking about it, you're facing it. And I did a lot of that healing work where I just faced everything. I brought it up to the surface, right? And mostly when the girls come to me, it's because they don't have an avenue to talk about this stuff. And it's taking power over them, right? It's making them feel a certain way. So I did all that. And then I went back to UE and I started to feel a bit more confident about myself just from releasing it. Like I can't tell you, I started to get into gratitude journaling as well. So I really was able to focus on the good in my life. And that has been something I will do every single day. It's changed my life. And I know it's like free and it's not that sexy, it's gratitude, right? But it just has changed my life completely. And I've called in so much abundance from it that I could sing it, like I could sing about it all day. So I did all the kind of healing work and then I started to build confidence. And when I say like I really just had this overnight experience. I was like, fuck you, past. Like, you do not define me. I don't give a shit about all that crap I went through, all those people, all those experiences. Like, fuck it. Like, I'm Sarah Woulfe. Like, I'm amazing. I can do anything, right? It wasn't that fast, but that was genuinely the kind of switch. I did have that light bulb moment. I was like, I'm not living this version anymore. Like, piss off past, right? So then I started just like dressing better for myself. I started like, me and my friend were single at the time. And I really and truly believe that I met the man of my dreams from having more confidence in myself, because every other one before that was just like a write-off. So I read that book. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
I haven't read it, but I've heard like loads
Or
about it.
it's so weird. My friend was like, my friend read that book before. He said she like lads chasing after her. And I was like, I'll go away. And like I read it. And I shit you not, I learned so much from that book about like how the man's mind works and the woman's mind works and all of this. And like I put it to practice from that moment on my date. And I'm shit you not, like for the first time ever, there was like a queue of people. I was like, this is great. Like I literally know now. And actually, for anyone listening who's single, like, you know, they talk about the man going into the cave very early on in the relationship, right? Which is actually funny because I almost predicted it with Liam. And it just kind of means that like everything's all hunky dory when you meet someone, but there'll always be a moment where a man goes into his cave, which means they kind of shut off in whatever way they do it, they just do it. And it's like, leave him in the cave. If you like text or go in there, it's like you're going to ruin it, right? So that was quite a funny running joke we had amongst the girls. It's like, he's in his cave, I'm going to leave him there, I'm not going to do the thing where I text him like 10 times and like whatever. So that was quite a funny one. But anyway, I had this kind of all these collective experiences of I felt better about myself. I started dressing better for myself. I decided who I wanted to spend time with and not just hang around with for the sake of it. I kind of stopped drinking as much, stopped relying on that stuff, dressing to look good instead of dressing to feel good on myself, all this kind of stuff. So it was a process. And then eventually I decided I really want to help people. I had read Awaken the Giant by Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within, changed my life, started to realize what my values were, and really stood into this kind of interdependence, which means like self-actualization. This is who I am. I detach from everyone. I'm so confident in myself. Now, listen, I'm saying this, confidence is always a growing thing, right? Like, but I just felt really magnetic. And all of a sudden I found the world responded to me completely different because I had that self-worth and and that was a climb now, Leanne. That wasn't overnight. Like that was various things I did through the therapies, the talking, the kind of gratitude, the books I read, and then eventually I came up with a process to help women because I saw the gap. There was therapy, there was counseling, but there was nothing that was that trendy that kind of had integrated therapies, but also accountability and get out of your comfort zone and, let's build this together and create a new version. So sorry, that was really long-winded, but that's I'm hoping that some people can take some nuggets from those little things as well that I talked about. If you are feeling a lack of confidence, like confidence is such a growth thing. It's not something you're born with. And I speak in schools about it, which is amazing. It's something I wish I had in college, some of the tools, but now there's so much more to it, but that's pretty much my life story as kind of how I got into coaching.
Yeah, amazing. And then now are you kind of helping more women who are like entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So the Femtrepreneur Club was a passion project of mine because that was like first phase, Sarah, what I just explained. A second phase, Sarah, was the business owner. And that brought a lot of joy to my life when I was doing it part-time as a teacher. And all of a sudden then I moved home to Ireland and I was like, oh, this is great. I get to move home and work in this full time. And then I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking lonely. Like, I hate this. Where's my staff room? Where is like, oh my God, I can't strategize. I don't know what to do. I have to market now. I have to wear all the hats. And like, I'm feeling miserable because like, I came home. Imagine this transition from being 9 years in Dubai to like rural Ireland, pregnant, no for like not no friends, sorry, but like no friends living around me where we moved to because we moved to my husband's kind of, like neck of the woods. Oh my God, it was really hard. It was just so hard. Those few, and I was like trying to run the coaching business, but sure, I was crying every day. I was like, I can't coach anyone. This is just, so I went through that's a real thing, culture transition. Like oh my God, it stayed with me for months now, like months. So yeah, the Fem Club was born from my experience feeling quite lonely in Ireland. So we mainly have Irish girls. Now we have English girls actually. We've girls living in Dubai and things like that as well. But like I think the girls love the community aspect because we kind of do the meetups every 90 days as well, kind of like you run the events. And the Fem Club is a mixture of, it's very much in mindset and business. So we do the strategy stuff and we've kind of got the bits of marketing and that. But I think it's a real empowerment collective. So the girls can make decisions for themselves, but just normalizing the challenges is probably the key part of Fem Club. So the weekly stuff that comes up, the imposter syndrome, the lack of self-worth, the bad weeks in business, let's all just talk about it, like normalize it, um, where no clients sign up, or, the burnout, like me and you were speaking about before this. So we sort of navigate all those topics in this container. We kind of do group calls, and we do like 90-day focus plans, and we've accountability partners, and it's just beautiful. Like, but that was born from, because again, you've got mindset, and then you've got the mindset of a female entrepreneur, and I'm sure you know it all too well.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing that all with us. You gave us a full history, and I feel like I've got
Sorry. I feel like
oh,
I'm talking too much now.
no, not at all. But there's so much in that that I think a lot of people really relate to as
Mm.
well. And loads of things I'd like to kind of cover from everything that you've just spoke about. But when you were working in Dubai, what were you doing? Because like that wasn't in the industry that you're in now. It was different as well, right? Was it
Say
more?
that again. Ask that again. Sorry, Leanne.
It's me, my accent. When you were in Dubai, what were you doing work-wise? Like, because it was different, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I was teaching. I was teaching in Dubai. I started teaching primary school. So basically you don't actually need a full teaching qualification to teach in the UAE in some schools. So like very few, you need like an honors degree. So they teach you up in their the way they do it. Does that make sense? But then I got my teaching license from that. So I taught, and I love teaching. I absolutely love teaching as well, which is funny. That's why I quite like going into the schools now, because it brings me back. And then I moved to Aberdeen for a year during that to study fashion management. So this was way before the coaching even came into play. I always thought I wanted to work in fashion, and I absolutely loved living in Aberdeen. I worked in Zara. I loved it. It was a lovely year. It was a very hard year at times, because me and Liam were away from each other, and also I was kind of left to myself, and I had an amazing roommate from Glasgow, but like it was quite challenging because I was like left by myself, and I was trying to navigate this new world. This, it was only a couple of months, but um, and then I realized I just didn't really enjoy the sort of corporate environment that I was in. Now it was only an internship, so I mean, like most jobs are incredible in fashion, but like for me, I kind of felt like I valued freedom more at that time than the long hours that were required to climb up the ladder. So if I started the fashion management, I think if when I was younger, like 18, 19, I feel like maybe I would have progressed in it more. But for me, I just kind of thought, no, I'm not really, I can't do all these like career climbing ladder. And I really, really beat myself up about that, Leanne. I was really down on myself. I was like, why can't I make it work? This was like in the vision board, this was in the plan. And little did I know the coaching was around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like sometimes you need to explore stuff and go
Absolutely.
different avenues to then finally lead you to where you are now. Because even like myself, I studied criminology and sociology. I spent all that money on education, all those years on education to then not use it all. And it's like a completely different career path that I've went down. But I think everyone starts their business from a place of they've been through it, like for me with like lead hard and stuff and my training and like building my confidence through exercise and better nutrition and then helping women do the same. It's kind of similar to what you've done. You went and done the work, the hard, deep work to then build your confidence, then be in the best place possible to show other women that they can do it too. And it could have been so easy to just stay in that corporate world and thinking, I need to do this because my family want me to, or my
Yeah.
partner wants me to, or because you feel you should, rather than start to explore these other things that you're kind of getting pulled to.
And like the hustle culture now is huge, like for women. I've had, a really big breakdown a couple of weeks ago. I was telling Liam, me and her were actually supposed to record this podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling her, look, I'm actually severely burned out. And like even saying that, I felt like a failure. You shouldn't be burned out, Sarah. I'm just, what the hell? Um, and to anyone listening out here, like honest to God, if you are burned out and stressed and you're running a household, maybe you've kids, and you're the big job or the business, whatever it is, like just give yourself a fucking clap in the back. You are amazing. But what I realized through that period of like building, growing, hustle, literally I was attracting nothing because I was so, my energy, and I'm a big energetics girl, Leanne, like I'm a big energetics girl. Not to the point where you don't have like a business plan or strategy. Like I'm very much about taking action and working hard, but also like finding that happy ground, happy middle, because you can just like us women, we're used to crucifying ourselves. And then you have to ask yourself, for what? Like, fantastic episode, by the way. I have to mention it. Diary of a CEO with Mo Gaudit. It's I'll actually tell you, it's episode 161, I'm almost sure, about stress and burnout. And like he was like, when you work for yourself, this is such a good point. He's like, you don't have a ceiling. So like you're like a hamster wheel, right? You're going to run like mad and you're going to keep running. But I'm very good. I'm going to keep running. I'm going to keep running. And then he's like, for what? And such a powerful question if you actually ask yourself, like, for what? Like, you know, fair enough, we have to make a living and, you know, everything else. But when does your well-being come into the equation? Like, where is your ceiling? Like, and that was a big wake-up call for me, because I was just like, I'm going to grow this. I'm going to grow. And like, I wasn't even looking at what I had. And I felt completely depleted, stressed, burned out. And like, I've had those higher months in my business, but I felt really shit. Like, so I'm just kind of like, when do we stop and actually give ourselves the grace to slow down, especially as women? We're not designed like men. We aren't, like, end of. Like,
Yeah.
and it's fine to look at our husbands getting up, doing it all the time and like feeling like shit behind them. But like, that's just the reality of it. Like, I had like a really like bad week there, well, no, a bad day like last week. And I was like, oh, my accountant's looking for something. I need to send him, blah, blah, blah. And one of the girls in the Fem Club was like, what day of your cycle is it? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually due tomorrow. And she was like, yeah, she goes, send on the bits you need to send on. She goes, put a big X in day 21 next month. And she was like, do very little on that week.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about cycle syncing, those using those 2 weeks, the powerful weeks, to just get all the content stuff done, the, you know, whatever, and then just leaving yourself with very little towards the end. And we need to learn how to listen to our cycles as well.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just, you know,
Yeah. And I think like we are in that world though, like people say to, like I feel like I try and post all the time about I'm struggling, like this is hard. And we talk about it a lot on this podcast. Like I'm
love
similar to
that.
you, I really built my confidence up, and then I had a wee blip in confidence a couple of years ago, and I got a bit of a mentor to kind of get me back out of it. But when I was going through the process, I didn't really speak about it because I didn't know how to explain it. But when I could talk about it afterwards, people were like, I would have no clue you felt like that. Like I would never have thought it. And it's like, yeah, but even though we try to talk about it and post about it, not everyone's going to see it. But also, you don't want to be like negative all the time on
No,
that
I know. Yeah.
that one post you do of the day. It's like people don't want to read negative shit all the time. And it's like a nice fine line, isn't it? Where you're trying to share the wins and like the cool shit that you're doing and how you're helping people. You don't want it always to be about you and that you're kind of struggling. But it is a huge thing that not just business owners face, but everybody faces. Like that constant struggle of like trying to keep going because you think everybody else is keep going and you think everybody else
Yeah.
is going on. And me and Joe always say it's like on the surface, it looks like everybody is swans and they're just looking
Yeah.
elegant, amazing, but underground, they are like paddling like hell to look that good. Like everybody's working hard. No one has it going easy. But I was putting up the washing the other night and I was just kind of thinking to myself, like, because I do like a lot of stuff for us in the house. We've both got businesses, but I used to like grudge that and hate that. But I actually see it as like one of my superpowers now. And I'm like, look at you being a badass. Like you've got up, you've trained, you've walked a dog, you've been to Portuguese class, you've done like 6 hours of work, you're hanging out, you've made lunch, you've made fucking dinner, and you've hung up the washing and changed the bed sheets. Like you are an absolute machine. Like I was literally high-fiving myself for doing those jobs because it is jobs, isn't it? And it's like your mindset on it could be so fucking negative. And it is hard sometimes. I'm not always operating at that level, but I was just having a day of going like, go you. Like you're managing so many things and you should
So
be proud of
much.
that. And it's not just monetary stuff that is good work. Like looking after your health is good work.
Yeah. And like, throw a baby into the mix and it's like, whoa, you know, like it's
I can't complain.
I just commend moms so much. Like, I have such respect for stay-at-home moms. I have such respect for the woman who's working and comes home. However you want to do motherhood is you, like, but like motherhood in itself is a full-time job as well as anything else, but it's so amazing and beautiful, and you can integrate it into your life, of course. And they actually drive you further. Like, it's funny. I kind of thought, oh, I'll have to scale back now, but I've probably been more driven than ever because I want her to look up to me. You have this little reason, right? You're like, you have this little why. But everything you just said there about social media, it's so easy assume from social media. And even after hearing this, I'll still go on and say, oh, Leanne's flying it. Next week, I love this word, fly. You're flying it on Instagram. I hear that so much. And I'm like, you don't see me bawling, crying on a Tuesday night because I'm just so stressed and anxious and I'm feeling like lack mentality and, all of this. And I can't do all the things I was supposed to do. So I'm beating myself up about it. And it's honestly like, I just think there's striving towards inner peace is so important. Like, I wish I wasn't so type A. It's a killer. Like, I look at people who are more chilled and it's just like, that's how I want to live. Like, I want to be like that peaceful person, just chills out, does yoga, relaxes all day. Just like, that's the dream.
Yeah.
It really is.
But I think like that's the beauty of what you do. And a part of us in Lead Hard as well, when you've got a community, like when we have some of our members call and they are in tears and they are struggling, and it's not more with their training and nutrition, it is their job. And their family, and they're just trying to juggle all these things and they're just completely overwhelmed, but be able to have that conversation and go like, look, everyone else in this group is feeling exactly the same. You're not fucking alone. Like, it is hard, it is challenging. So like after what you've just experienced, because like
Mm.
what I kind of find is something like you said, we keep going, 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 going. But
Yeah.
something I've seen a lot more recently is having more thinking time. I like to call it thinking time. And it's time that you think's not productive, where you're off your phone and you're just sitting in silence and you're just being quiet. Maybe you are just out for a walk or you're just sat on the sofa. Like, just having time for your brain to slow down and think, because that's when you always have your best ideas. And it's like, we need to do that more often if you want to grow your business or you want to come up with these better solutions at work. Like, these little moments of peace and stopping and pausing is where you're going to get better answers and where you're going to get better at your job. And we need to start celebrating that so much more. So, how did you get into that process, or what have you learned from that burnout to be like,
Yeah.
maybe how you can notice it for one, and then maybe what could you do in the future to like make sure you give yourself that time and not feel guilty for it? If you've got any tips for us.
Yeah, of course I do. I love that question. It's so juicy because that's kind of what we've been talking about in Fem Club since we kicked off again 2 weeks ago. The biggest realization for me, first of all, was just because I'm looking at all these people and how they run their business, it doesn't mean I have to do it that way. That was a big one. Like, it's easy to say, I want to do it all. I want to build this monster. I want to build this baby. But like, at the same time, you have to ask yourself, how do you, like, first of all, how much time do you have to give to your business, and what's enough for you right now as well? How can you build it sustainably? Was a huge one. So the first thing that hit me was I was trying to do too much, too fast, and I was over focused on growth. So I was actually coming from more of a lack mentality because I was so focused on the things I didn't have, or sorry, not even the things I didn't have, but the things I really wanted. And I just know, I'm telling you right now, I am telling you right now, when you're operating from a place of want and lack, and you're not noticing the amount of abundance in your life, you're just anxious waking up, you're thinking about the things you want all the time, you will never attract them because you're operating from a place of lack. And I know people have different opinions about mindset. I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying, this is just my experience. Night and day. Night and day throughout my life have I seen loads of like opportunities come in from me relaxing and letting go and having fun. And when I've held on tightly and I'm like, this is what I wanted to, like, what do I do now to market today and get clients in? And it just doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, yeah,
People can feel it.
yeah. And although people will be like, "Oh yeah, that's too woo-woo for us," like,
Yeah, I'm sure
it's
they will.
really true. Like, my whole business was built upon me just sharing my journey and my life. It was not ever, I'm going to be a coach. I literally was just having the time of my life,
Yeah.
exercising and sharing tips, enjoying myself. I didn't think about, oh, is this going to help? Is this post going to sign up clients or whatever? I was just so relaxed with it, and it was like the best time when you kind of do look back to
And
being.
that's where I think you need to separate. So that's a great point that you just mentioned, because I think let's normalize. I said this morning in the call as well. Let's normalize wanting growth. and like wanting to sign up more clients. I mean, I think I think you're well entitled to want to build more wealth in your life, to make more impact in your life. But that's what we have to catch. We have to catch the over focus on how much we can take on in 3 months. So yeah, so basically I was like, okay, because I was supposed to run it like a membership model, and like I still might, like I haven't fully made up my mind, but right now I was like, I want to run this in like 90-day cycles to give myself another 3 weeks off to get into that creative space again, to relaunch it again. And as well, the girls love the break as well that we took. Now I could still run it in membership. I'm still kind of figuring that out. But yeah, just that whole, okay, take strategic breaks. One big tip I have, girls, is like when it comes to 5 o'clock, just leave, shut down the laptop. I sometimes turn off the phone because like usually Liam and Haley will be in around that time. Liam will collect Haley and he'll be in around that time. He's a teacher. And I just genuinely will go downstairs and we'll go for our walk and we'll lie in the grass if it's sunny, or we'll watch telly. And when I do turn that phone off and all the crappy technology off, it's just such a beautiful evening. And I wake up totally refreshed. So if you can just get into the heights, it sounds hard because a lot of my girls struggle with like being on the laptop late at night. And I'm just like, bam, lock the office door, throw away the key at a certain time, leave the to-do list off until tomorrow, that whatever needs to be done. Not putting too much on your plate is a massive one. So looking at your 3 months ahead, what are your 1 or 2 or 3 sort of goals without it like wrecking your nervous system? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are your 1 or 2 things that you really want to work on this summer and still have fun, and scheduling in your human connection? You know what I mean? Just minimizing, like complete minimizing, and understanding that like you probably will manifest an awful lot more when you do really appreciate what's in front of you. I hope that makes sense. So that's the main things that I've come up with. Slow down, speed up, enjoy your life more, stop like working away your life for what, even if you had like all this money, you can't even spend it because you're just working too much. You're going to drive yourself into the ground. You're going to miss pivotal moments in Haley's life if you don't stop. That's me talking really honestly now. A big point for me just before I took the 3 weeks off and I emailed all my clients, Haley had just about taken her first step.
Oh,
And it took me, I'm not even joking, this is the height of brain fog. You'll know if you feel brain fog, by the way, that you're going through burnout or you're approaching it. It literally took me like a second to register what happened. And that's when I was like, I'm taking time off.
mm.
Take the time, girls, slow it way down, just slow everything way down if you can. And just look at the beauty and the abundance of your life as it is and really feel it. That's what I'm doing right now. Loads of Gabby Bernstein stuff, all my manifest books ready for the plane. I'm just ready to fall into that beautiful kind of space again, the kind of feminine energy and flow. Instead, like having masculine as well, but not being overly masculine and driven by success and growth and to just kind of leaving that like dwindle down a little bit. That's
A lot of the time, we always kind of feel sometimes like work is like life or death. And I'll be totally honest, when you message and you're like, Leanne, I've burnt, like, I'll do the podcast if you need me to, but I was like, no, I want the best you here at the day. Like, let's just cancel. But the time you had off for me flew in. Like, I felt like it was like a week. I didn't realize it was longer than that. But in our head, we're like, oh my God, like, even just having a weekend off or a few days off, like, we just think the world is going to end. Or like, if we don't get all this work done for our boss and for our managers, we're
yeah,
constantly like, just trying to get it all done, it's always going to be there. Like, again,
always.
your gals survived without you for 3 weeks. They were fine. They're good. But in our heads, we create all these scenarios that if we stop, it's all going to end, and it isn't. And if anything, you're going to come back so much stronger for that break. And also, we need to normalize that. And that's why it's like we need to chat about this today, because not many people do. And it is celebrated to work harder and work more. But then your boss is just going to expect you to keep working that way. They'll be like, oh wow, she must have all the time in the world, so let's keep giving her more shit to do.
I have
Rather
a lot of girls in corporate. Sorry to
no,
interrupt, but I have a lot of girls in corporate, and I say a lot of them come to me struggling with boundaries. So like that they'll keep working past the office hours, and I'm just like, that's a habit you're in then, because you'll always have more to do
yeah,
then, because that's a habit you've created. So a lot of them, I've taught them to build that confidence to kind of have a conversation and just say, actually, no, I'm, and whatever you need to do to finish at 5 o'clock. because this is what you get paid for, nothing more, you know. And I say that to them, and they usually have the conversation, and they get into that habit of just shutting, like I said, shutting down the laptop at whatever time. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
Just the exact
Yeah.
same. Yeah, they're just going to expect
Yeah.
you to do all that shit all the time. And I've actually had some ladies that I work with who have been like almost burning out and spoke to their managers about how they're feeling, and their managers have had no clue. Again, we think everybody is bossing it and smashing it and doing fine, so we leave them. But when you have that conversation, they're like, "Oh my God, so sorry. Did not know that you feel like this. Do you want some time off? We don't want to lose you. You're amazing. You're the
Yeah.
top dog in this business. Like, we don't want you to leave for another place. So like, we need to fix this situation." So sometimes actually maybe speaking about how you feel at work as well to management and setting those boundaries is going to be really powerful.
Absolutely. And again, it just comes down to the confidence to kind of just make some change, whether it's a conversation you have with your boss, like you said, or, you know, because you are right. If you are the one who's doing all the work, you probably are going to be not treated like a doormat, but you know what I mean? You're going to be the one they think of, oh, she'll do it. She'll take care of it. You know, and that's what you don't want. So you have to kind of break that cycle. Like anything, you know, and just be like, I'm done. It's like, what was that movie where he's like, I can't remember, it's like The Hangover. He's like, I'm out of here, see you next summer. Like that whole mentality of this is work. It's only one part of my life. You know, it's not our whole life. That's a great point you made. It's not our whole life. It's not life or death at all.
Always going to be there. And sometimes like you can be in a job that you are underappreciated, and actually
Mm.
stepping out and going somewhere different or taking that time to pause can be that time for you to actually step into something else that you actually want to do. But if you don't stop for fresh air, you're never going to notice it. And I've seen some ladies move to different jobs, and their training, their nutrition, their mindset is like night and day, because they're in a better environment that actually appreciate them and the work that they put in. So yeah, I think pausing is really good, and actually sometimes
Mm.
realizing that you guys are so much more amazing than you realize. From all this work and
Mm.
effort that you put in, you will be appreciated somewhere if your place where
Yeah.
you're working does not realize that just now. So we've covered burnout a wee bit as a big struggle. We've covered what was that? What would we call
Kind
that
of a
one?
lot about energetics, abundance, gratitude, like, and presence. I think
Yeah,
that's a huge one. Feminine flow is what I call that, a little bit more, you know.
yeah. So like, give me one more thing that you maybe see a lot of your women really struggle with in their career or within their
Ooh,
job. If there's one more thing we could think about.
comparison.
Yeah, good one. I like it. Okay, tell us
Mm.
more.
Aren't we all guilty? Again, I love to normalize these things out loud for myself as well. And I've no problem saying it. Now, again, it's the whole conception of social media. What's very funny, Leanne, is this morning we had a call in the Fem Club, and two of my girls are social media managers. And both of them had written in their sort of like 90-day plans that they want to stop comparing as much, and that they're looking at other content creators thinking they're doing more, and weren't they talking about themselves? We literally realized this morning on the call, and I was like, were you looking at each other? And they both were like, yeah. And I was like, how funny. You're literally both comparing, not in a negative way. Comparison is just a healthy, oh, like she's doing so well, I should be doing better, whatever, you know. It's huge. And when it comes to social, I mean, that we could be here all day talking about social media. um my one tip, sorry, probably the most groundbreaking tip, and I know we hear it all the time, but please do get into the habit of giving yourself the morning before you jump on the phone. Or even scrolling late at night in bed. I think it's causing an awful lot of anxiety the next morning. I'm definitely more guiltier for being on it in bed at night. I am not going to lie. It's the morning I have, like, you know, I have always been quite good for staying off my phone and just doing a little bit of like affirmation and gratitude journaling and a coffee before I sort of dig in here. But like, I think everybody is subconsciously comparing themselves. Um, and you need to always remind yourself the model will compare herself to the supermodel. It's one of my favorite quotes. Um, there's always someone to compare yourself to, but stay in your lane, you know, and try to minimize that social media usage as much as you can. Way easier said than done. But yeah, comparison is a big thing. I think just let's normalize it and just realize that everyone is comparing themselves to everyone, and you're doing just fine how you are. Just you be authentic, you do your thing, you just be you. You're more magnetic when you're yourself. Yeah, that's kind of anything else. Yeah, morning routine, like social media detoxing as much as possible. EFT tapping, like if you are going through a lot of stress in your body, like, and you feel really kind of insecure and sort of like feeling a lot of frustration and anger, please check out EFT tapping. It's phenomenal for letting that out and just feel like calming your brain down a little bit more. Also for dealing with trauma or negative memories that you really want to like learn how to sort of erase. My next tip would be probably read Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. It's like the
Yeah.
best book in the world. I love it so much. Have you read it? No.
It's a big book, isn't it?
It is huge, but it really is worth it. I'm actually going to see him live in
Oh yeah, I
Germany
see
this year.
that.
I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
that
I'm so excited. It's always
I've
been a
heard
big goal of mine.
such good things, but I do think, yeah, self-comparison's a huge one as well. And it kind of goes back to that whole swan thing. We do think people have just got it going on underneath. Everybody's putting in the work. No one has it easy. Everybody has their own struggle in different ways. But I always think as well, like sometimes like if you are kind of comparing to other people, it's like, well, it's great to see and be inspired by other people. I think it gives me sometimes ideas of how I could do it in my own way as well. Um, but yeah, you're only getting a snippet of what's going on in that business or in that person's life. So you can't think that you're not as good as them.
100%. And I love what you just said there. Really big teaching in kind of Gabby Bernstein's work and stuff is like, if you're single, for example, and you see the happy couple, it's like, just stop for a second before you go into, kind of overdrive up here and just be like, isn't that nice? And I'm so excited for that to come into my life.
Mhm.
And I thought that was wonderful. So if we can trade our brains, fair play to her. Or if you feel yourself feeling a bit envious, leave a comment.
Yeah,
Say, well
exactly.
done. Just change it quickly, but envy is a very, again, healthy, normal emotion, especially for women, that comes up. It's not envy. It's just a little bit of jealousy. It's just a little bit of, oh, but then you just switch it in the moment.
And like even
Yeah.
like me and you, like it's like you can just jump on a call and have a chat and it might actually help you with your business and you move forward and like you
Really?
end up meeting someone that you're more like than you realized. So yeah,
Really?
I think that's a great thing, like just a like. But another thing as well, like if I have some, like I personally, like I follow you because you're not very coach, but I don't follow a lot of people in my industry because it just sometimes throws me a little bit in terms of like what I'm doing. So like,
100%.
although it's
Yeah.
good to get inspiration from different people, but I get that from like maybe from you and what you do in your industry because it's a bit different. So
Mm,
like I follow a lot of different types of business. I'm like, how can I bring that to lead her in like my version? Because
mm.
I think sometimes you're just like, although I love a lot of coaches and we're really good friends and I'll keep in touch with them, I just don't want my
Yeah.
socials flooded with that. And I also just follow a lot of real people and normal people so that I'm actually going on social media and it's a place of joy than a place of comparison. It's dog videos, it's nonsense, and I love it. And I actually find it an joy place to be. So I think if you're going on social media and you're comparing and it's feeling overwhelming, or mute pages and start
Absolutely.
disliking things that are triggering you and start going on more dog pages or nails. We both got our nails done recently.
Yay. Oh, I love yours actually. You're fab. The different colors.
I did them myself. They're very young looking compared to your elegant nails that you had done today.
Not at all. I love them.
Yeah, and makeup pages, start doing stuff like that that just fill your cup up a little bit more and make it a better
Absolutely.
environment. So no,
One thing I had to really minimize was, and this could be a whole other podcast episode, but the sort of money marketing, I hate it. It drives me bananas, and I feel like there's an awful lot of scammers out there now, it's kind of scam culture and things like that, and claiming all these things, and you're just like, there's no proof behind any of it, and a lot of it is AI generated. Like it's just like I think stuff like that, if you run your own business, I think just mute all of that crap as well, because I think it's just so unrealistic and it's just causing people like they're kind of preying on vulnerable people. I just again going back to that point, it's like definitely who you follow on Instagram, and like you said, you could be friends with someone, like you said, you still mute them because you just don't want to take the ideas, or you don't want to not take the ideas, but yeah, you don't want to kind of you just don't want your mind to wander a little bit. I'm the exact same as you with people in mindset for sure. Yeah. But I wish them so well. It's just,
yeah, no,
I
absolutely.
try to like, yeah.
So open about it as well. I'm like, it's not that I don't like you. I just genuinely want to keep my feed as less fitnessy as I possibly can or whatever. So like people get it. People totally get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm aware of our time and I want to cover a few more things quickly from a selfish
Yay.
standpoint as well, because I've got three
All
questions.
day.
One is obviously you're a mum now. What,
Yes.
a year now?
She is 14 months almost. Yeah. So she'd be, yeah. And we're going to Dubai on Sunday, and I'm nervous because she's like doing the pre-walking stage. So she's like up and down. And I'd say like it's going to be chaotic at security. But anyway, go on.
The main question is because like we don't have a family yet, and I'm just
Right.
intrigued from being obviously by yourself, running your business, to then having a child in tow. So like, how did you find a transition going from Sarah business owner to Sarah business owner with a child?
Yeah, this is a great question. There was no set plan, to be honest. So again, I had a very simple business structure. I was just doing one-to-one coaching sessions over 3 months with people. So it was very much a program that we followed. So I would only ever take on 10 women at one time. So that was always how I did things. Then I got pregnant and I worked up until, that couple of weeks before I sort of was in my nesting and cleaning period. Um, and actually, it's very funny because I think that's around the time I had come across Joe on Instagram, and I'd seen about the high performance coach. And then I was like, right, okay. I was like, I'm going to take my couple of weeks off. And I was like, I'm going to make a plan for like when I'm back. And it's really weird. There's a fantastic book. It's called You Were a Badass at Making Money. It's by Jen Sincero. So she wrote You Were a Badass, and this is like You Were a Badass at Making Money. And it's just all about like making your plan and feeling like grounded in that. So I kind of had made a little plan in my mind for after maternity and sort of like when I was going to start marketing again. And I think if you do that, it actually, you can kind of relax more because you're like, okay, this is my plan. And I'm going to just kind of roll out that I'll have new spaces at this time and da 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 da. So what happened, Leanne, was then I had her, and I actually didn't get paid any maternity because I was in Dubai. I hadn't built up enough like PRSI contributions, which was crazy. I was like, oh my God, this is really hard for women who just come home. Um, Now that it didn't really matter because, like we had just moved home from Dubai, so we had obviously savings and everything was okay. Like, but that was quite tough for me because I was like, okay, even if I did want to take 6 months, I actually can't well, I could if I wanted, like I said to you, but I kind of felt that hunger in me again. So I took on my 10 clients, my usual clients, one-to-one. And I was working in the evenings. And then I realized it just wasn't sustainable for me. So we got childcare. I literally had childcare for 2 days a week only, which is mad. The reason I switched up my business model to be a little bit more sort of group and just was to free up my time as well. But also I had a set of skills that I felt like I could share with like a wider group. So that's kind of how I juggled it. Was I looked at my time, and I kind of had to change my business model. And obviously if you work maybe for a company, it might be just looking at like that as well. Like how can you maybe change things up? Um, I'm a big believer as a mum, keep your passions alive. A lot of people might not. Like I went to Manchester for a weekend, see Jay Shetty 7 weeks after she was born. I'm sure a lot of people might be like, oh my God, you're mad, you're crazy. But like, luckily I have a great husband who was quite hands-on. I didn't breastfeed, for example. So I just had that, that freedom to do so. But I honestly feel like keeping up my little coaching bits and, like reading my books and going to my events, that kept Sarah alive. And even now, I'm just like, keep you alive like as much as you possibly can. Like I said to you earlier, your kids will probably drive you a lot more anyway, in a great way to you just want to be you, you want to support, you want them to see the magic of you as they grow up. You like be the working woman, like like just be you as much as you can. Do not lose yourself. Now it's very easy for me to say that as well though, because Haley was quite manageable. Obviously it completely depends on your own situation at home, your own child, what's right for you, what childcare is available to you, all of that. But yeah, I literally run the business. It's been probably my most successful year to date, which is mad, with 2 days of childcare. So, but again, a lot of that is thanks to your husband because I did learn a lot about business models with him and how I could, you know, um, transfer my skills in a way that was actually more affordable for people as well, because it was, community based and I could bring more people in for like a lower price and I could still so I had all those limiting beliefs saying I couldn't do a group program. I won't get group signups. I can create communities. And then here you go. So like it was just that self-belief I needed
Yeah.
to step into something different that was going to suit my life. Um and yeah, that was a hard journey. There was days I was like, no, I can't do that. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And then I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll just do it. It's just
Oh, it's amazing. I really
yeah.
appreciate you sharing that with us. And like you said as well, I think a lot of people say to me as well, you will not find anyone who is more productive than a working mum, because like
Yes.
I can fuck off time easily without realizing and be like, yeah, I'm working, but I'm probably not being efficient working. And it comes back to that taking time
Yes.
and making productive hours. So like I think a lot of people say to me, it could actually make you more productive. It could make you more driven. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because I do feel, I know it's not easy in any way and you work so freaking hard, but I do love that you still have a bit of set of time and you go away to events and you do stuff. And I
Oh
know it's
yeah.
easy to do, but I feel like I would be similar in terms to like I wouldn't want to lose myself. I feel like I've worked so hard to build this version of me. I wouldn't want to lose her, and I wouldn't want to have a
Yep.
child that has someone that doesn't feel confident or isn't happy within herself. And yeah, and my mum was a working mum as well, so and I admire her for it. So yeah,
It's great. You know, we all give out about the stress, but like secretly we all kind of thrive off it as well. You
yeah,
know, like a little bit. You know what I mean? We're like, just well, if I didn't have the stress, I'd be bored. You know?
yeah,
So,
exactly. Oh my God, that's so true, isn't it? And it's
yeah.
that we're actually stressed about stuff that we really care about rather than maybe other people's stress, you know, like especially for business owners. It's like you're building it's like my baby, I'm building it and I love it and enjoy it. It's
Oh yeah.
still hate it some days, but
Course.
at least it's
But I will say, sorry, just disclaimer on that. There are days that are very hard as a mom. Sorry, I'm not saying it's rosy in the garden at all, because there are days where I just want to throw the whole lot in the bin. There's days, I think I said to you, where I miss my gym sessions with Liam, you know, or I miss the freedom of just going off to a coffee shop for the day with my laptop or meeting friends. Like there is days where I feel really lonely. Like it's a really lonely journey. Like it is, because you are sort of at home, you're kind of Groundhog Day, you know, it's like it does go on for a while, but you wouldn't change it for the world. It's beautiful, it's messy, but it's yours, you know, and you're like, oh, you just get to have this human in your life. I say to women, you know, it's you're so lucky if you have a child. Like it's a dream for so many. Um, so it's about learning to juggle, and
okay.
it'll be really fucking messy, but you'll get there. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
you'll
I
get
really
there.
appreciate you sharing that with us, because like, and again, I think it's nice asking you as well, because it is still pretty new and something that's constantly changing for you compared to when I've had this conversation before. It's people that have been
Mm.
further ahead with older children, so it's quite nice to kind
Yeah.
of compare the difference if people are in my position or similar position to you. So, what's next for Sarah? Like personally,
Mm.
physically, professionally, what have you got planned? Try and keep it nice and short for us, and we'll.
Nice and short, yeah, because I know I could go on all day. So I have started CrossFit recently. So basically, like you, I'm very new to so I did CrossFit years ago in Dubai, and I had a gym where I live here, but I just found it wasn't giving me much energy. So I decided to join. Like I literally travel like 25, 30 minutes to the CrossFit gym. I know that's crazy, but I don't care because I love it and it gives me such energy. So I would love to do High Rocks next year. So me and one of my mum friends, we said we're going to put that in the diary now. That's going to be a goal because I need a goal. I was like, I need
Love
a
it.
goal. So that I'm really enjoying. And then sort of personally, like just the summer again, like hot girl summer, chill the fuck out, give yourself a couple of things to do. To hell with the growth thing. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing amazing. And just go, you know, we've like lots of things of friends, weddings, stuff like that. And then professionally, I just want to keep building sustainably, but just really enjoy it and not rush it and understand that like just like my clients are number one. Like you can only ever coach what's in front of you. So just giving them an absolutely unbelievable experience is priority, and taking the whole growth side out of it. You know what I mean? And just understanding that it'll all naturally unfold. And not getting into a tizzy about having everything done yesterday, right? So that's basically it. Just I think from all of that, it's having more fun, basically. Yeah.
More human connection this summer.
Human connection is so important. You know, when you meet someone for a coffee, you just feel like you could take on the world after it.
Yeah.
Like, just need more of that.
Yeah, perfect. And where can everyone, like, you're happy if anyone has any questions from today or want to chat to you for them to give you a message?
Million percent. I'm actually going to add my confidence workshop to my bio actually this evening just before I go out to Dubai. It's such a popular one. Lovely little watch. And of course, if you have any questions around anything I said around the EFT, around the therapies, around like how you're feeling, like I love chatting to women in my DMs. That's like my favorite thing to do. So don't be afraid.
Okay, cool. Where can we find you?
Sarah Woulfe.mindset Instagram. I'm old school, guys. No TikTok yet, nothing like that. Just the old Instagram. Or Sarah at sarahwoulfe.com, WOULFE, if you'd rather email me as well.
Yeah, I'm the same. I can't get into TikTok. Maybe it's like an age thing, but I just feel like my brain is busy enough with one, never mind two
Oh,
apps.
I'm so glad you said that. So you were just on Insta as well. Love that.
Yeah, don't even use. I've tried it, I've dabbled in it, and I just can't keep consistent with it. And I feel like I go on Instagram and it's like TikTok anyway nowadays. It's the same as stories. Like when you had Snapchat, I moved to Instagram because it was like stories was like Snapchat. So I was like, cool, let's pap off Snapchat,
Mm.
just keep one and be good at one rather than
Are
trying
you
to spread myself so thin.
are you on Facebook?
Ditched Facebook as
No.
well. I don't really use it
Same,
anymore.
yeah. I just thought it was a bit more personal than professional. For me, I just like, yeah, every time I logged in, I just felt like I was catapulted back to like 2009. I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. It's not
I
me.
think they're like linked, so that we'll still post on Facebook, but I never go on it anymore, like at all. Just
No.
Instagram's my bag. But I'll put
LinkedIn, I will say last point, LinkedIn is quite good. But that's more B2B, but that's kind of something I want to explore more. So if you do work in corporate or like if you work for yourself, like there's a lot of opportunities at the moment on LinkedIn, as far as I'm hearing through the grapevine.
people are amazing on LinkedIn. I just
Oh my
can't.
gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not got the
Well,
thing.
for your industry, it probably won't be as much. But I suppose it would be though, because I suppose you work with a lot of like professionals as well. So you never know.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
never.
nice one to have.
Don't know how.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange, but I'll put your details in the comments. But I really appreciate all your
Yay.
honesty and sharing your journey with us all today and just having this conversation because I know so many people don't have friends that they can talk to about this kind of stuff and again feel really alone and like they're the only person that's struggling. But please remember that we're all just trying to get by, we're all just trying to do our best, and you deserve some rest if you really kind of need it. I think that's our biggest takeaways today.
Yeah, girls, I was literally pacing the kitchen floor 4 weeks ago, crying, being like, I'm going to give it all up. I'm going to go back teaching. And that's a regular occurrence. I could have a great week, and then the next week I'm like, fuck this. So,
Yeah.
like, I think, like, let's all just normalize the polarity of life, and there will always be overwhelm, always, and stress. So, yeah, it's normal.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Leanne.
And
Cheers.
thank you everybody else for listening, and I'll catch up with you all very soon.